This week on Africa Weekly, we focus on Mali, where French and Malian troops say they have killed or captured 30 jihadists as part of an anti-insurgent offensive. And we stay in Mali, which has reclaimed its place as the leading African country in terms of cotton production, but where very little of its own white gold is processed for further use. But first, a summary of the stories that made the headlines this week. Following last week's dramatic end to the 3-decade rule of Omar al-Bashir, Sudan's military rulers imprisoned the ousted Sudanese president late on Tuesday and detained 2 of his brothers. Amnesty International called for Bashir to be handed over to the International Criminal Court, where he would face charges of crimes against humanity relating to the conflict in Darfur. Bashir's detention has failed to pacify protesters, who launched anti-government demonstrations in December and for days have been camped out in front of Khartoum's army headquarters, calling for a civilian government. While there have been scenes of celebration, the protest site has grown more tense amid concerns the army will try to clear the sit-in with force.
Our sit-ins will continue, and our demands will continue until the military council proves that it's serious by implementing the demands of the revolution, until the figures of the regime are arrested, and until the Charter of Freedom and Change is fully implemented.
On taking power, the army said a military council would run Sudan for 2 years, sparking a backlash from protest leaders. Just a day later, the former defense minister stepped down as council chief, sparking jubilation on Khartoum's streets. His successor, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, oversaw weekend talks with political parties, which failed to make headway. At least 6 people were killed by rocket fire in the Libyan capital Tripoli late on Tuesday. The attack was blamed by the UN-recognized government on strongman Khalifa Haftar, as thousands more civilians fled the violence. The latest bombing came as world powers wrangled over the wording of a UN Security Council resolution demanding a ceasefire, with Russia blocking criticism of Haftar, according to diplomats. The World Health Organization says that at least 189 people have been killed and 816 wounded since Haftar ordered his forces to march on Tripoli. More than 25,000 people have been displaced. Britain was hoping to bring the ceasefire resolution to a vote at the Security Council before Friday, but diplomats pointed to Russia's reported objections as a hurdle. Chibok residents commemorated the 5-year anniversary on Sunday of the kidnapping of 276 schoolgirls. On April 14, 2014, Boko Haram gunmen stormed the Chibok girls' boarding school, kidnapping the pupils aged 12 to 17. After negotiations with the extremist group, 107 of the girls either escaped, were released in exchange for prisoners, or were recovered by the army. But there are still 112 girls of whom there has been no news.
This message is to those who hold our children. What did we do to you? And what do they want from us? Please release our girls. Come back to us. We need them. Every parent wants to see their children close to them. Please, please, whether they are alive or not, let them come back.
Former President of South Africa, Jacob Zuma, has been campaigning for the ruling ANC party in Shaka Skral in the east of the country. Although Zuma is not standing, he is lending his support to the African National Congress's campaign to persuade an electorate of 27 million to back the ANC once more in May 8th general elections. Police detained demonstrators during a protest in Algiers on Sunday after protesters vowed to push on with rallies against the interim government of Abdelkader bin Salah and its plans for July 4th elections. The demonstrators are arguing that leaders who emerged from the Bouteflika system cannot guarantee free and fair polls. The US President's daughter, Ivanka Trump, on Wednesday unveiled $2 million in aid for women working in Ivory Coast's key cocoa sector, of which the country is the world's leading producer. Trump visited a cocoa plantation north of Abidjan before taking part in the first West African summit on female entrepreneurship in the country's economic capital.
Today, The private sector and the World Cocoa Foundation, in conjunction with USAID and WGDP, our newly launched initiative to empower women, is going to make a $2 million commitment.
A 30-strong convoy of armoured vehicles and refuelling trucks set off on the RN16 road between Gossi and Hombori in central Mali, close to the border with Burkina Faso. It is March 27th and several hundred French soldiers are launching the first major offensive of its kind in the region as part of Operation Barkhane, the anti-insurgent operation launched in Africa's Sahel region in 2014. Remotely controlled landmines are among the soldiers' biggest fears, and a few days later, slightly further south of their position, a military doctor is killed by one of the landmines. Dede, Corbish and Flo are attached to the 126th Infantry Regiment. They left their base in Brive-la-Gaillarde in February for a 4-month tour of duty. For 22-year-old Kevin, set to become a father for the first time, it is his first military operation on foreign soil.
I decided to do this job because I already like the risk. I like the fact that I'm feeling I'm protecting my loved ones, that I serve my country, that I help my neighbour, that I help my elders, etc. There are people who have fought so that we can be here, so I don't see why we can't follow in their footsteps. What I like about going on foreign operations is a sense of cohesion, a kind of family life that we have here in the army. It's not for everyone.
The closer the convoy gets to the border with Burkina Faso, the more they face the threat of armed terrorist groups. Finally, they drive through Hombori, the city's hotels a testament to a bygone era when tourism was a part of the local economy. There's barely time to eat some rations before hitting the road again. With temperatures in excess of 40 degrees in the shade at the height of the hot season, there's no need for reheating. The food is already warm. Before leaving, there's time for a group photo. Proud and valiant is their motto. The men of the 126th Regiment and their air support are now ready. 2 weeks later, the French army publishes the results of the offensive. With the help of the Malian army, Operation Barkhane dismantled a training camp and logistics platform which took 30 jihadists out of circulation.
It's early in the morning in this corner of southeast Mali, but the local farmers are already hard at work, harvesting cotton fibre from the fields. They take great care in the work. Cotton, often called white gold, is the country's primary export product. The industry is supported by the Malian government, which offers loans to cotton farmers.
It's helpful because the people who grow cotton get fertilizer. On the other hand, those who do not do so have difficulty accessing fertilizers, even if they have money. Sometimes we also grow corn in addition to cotton.
But only a small part of this harvest will be processed in Mali. Cotton is usually directly exported without being treated. It's a tendency that Marianne wants to change. Her shop in Bamako uses traditional strips of fabric and handmade yarn to make 100% organic cotton clothing.
I'm committing to processing it here, not exporting it in a raw form. There are techniques, a certain craftsmanship. It's a real social, cultural and patrimonial issue. It's a shame that these things are not valued.
Comatex is the country's only cotton processing plant. It deals with just 1% of the country's production, and strong competition from abroad means that business is tough going.
They say it's a big textile market, but it's also a market which is flooded with imported textiles which are cheaper. That seriously disrupts the company's business.
With 728,000 tons produced in 2018, Mali is Africa's leading cotton producer. The main potential for growth in the sector now lies in ensuring that more of that raw produce is processed at home.
Ethiopian Shanu Shar Hiribo won the second edition of the Eiffage Marathon in Dakar, which was held in the city centre on Sunday, having run it in 2 hours and 14 minutes. Approximately 11,000 participants registered for the various 10 kilometres, half marathon and marathon races. That's all from us at Africa Weekly. Until next week.